All right, this is the first video in 3.2. This is a video on how to construct a truth table. So I have the bare bones of the truth table already constructed, but we're going to go through and we're going to explain why we ended up with the particular truth table that we did. So as you know, when constructing truth tables, the first thing that we do is we count the number of atomic sentences that we have in our argument entirely. So remember, this is our argument entirely, so we're counting the number of atomic sentences. Notice we have first and foremost C right here, so that's one atomic sentence. We have D, that's a second atomic sentence. And then everything below, the next two are also C and D. This is still atomic C, and this is not D, whose atomic embedded within that not is just D. So we only have two atomic sentences here. So remember, two atomic sentences now tells us how many columns of our truth table we will need. And so the columns of our truth table that we need, let me put the C back. The columns of our truth table are the number n of atomic sentences we have squared. And so we have two atomic sentences, so 2 squared is going to be 4. So that means what we need are we need 4 rows. So we need this row right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so right up here, this is going to be where we name our sentences. So this up here is, in a sense, you might call it our naming row, right? And everything below is going to have truth values. So remember, the first thing that we do now that we know how many columns we have, we need to determine how many rows we have. So the number of rows we have is determined by the sentences in our argument. So we're going to have our 2 atomics as our first. So our first row is going to be C, our second row is going to be D. That's our 2 atomics. In order to delineate our atomic sentences from our non-atomics, we might make a double line here. So a turnstile, you might call it. And then we want our premises. So we've got not D here. So that's one premise. Our second premise is C or D. That's our premise right here. And then we've got our conclusion, which is just a repetition of C. Now notice all of these, this right here and this right here, are sentences that have single connectives. So they're not sentences that are complex. Our truth tables are going to get more complex in the next video as we have more complex sentences. But for now, we have pretty simple sentences. All right. So the next thing we do is we need to determine the truth value combinations of C and D. Right? So what are all the possible truth value combinations? Remember that the way that we do this is we start on the left-hand side and we go all the way down our 4 rows, labeling true, false, true, false. So we alternate trues and falses. And then as we move over to the next column, we double the number of trues we're doing. So instead of doing true, false, alternating 1, 1, we alternate 2, 2. So we alternate 2 trues and then 2 falses. So in D, our column is going to be true, true, false, false. And notice that gives us all possible combinations of truth values here. We have the row where both C and D are true, this row. We have the row where C is false and D is true, this row. We have the row where C is true and D is false, that row. And we have the row where they're both false, right? So those are all our possible combinations of 2 particular atomic sentences. Next, we arrive at the next column. The next column is not D. Remember, negation here is a truth value flipper. So negation is going to take all the values of this row, so all the values of D, and it's going to flip them. So where we had true for D, we're going to have false for not D. Where we had true for D, again, we're going to have false for not D. And then where we had false for D, in row 3, we're going to have true for not D, and likewise for the last row. Because that one also, D is false, and so not D is going to be true. When we look at the next column, C or D, disjunction is true just in case at least one of the disjuncts is true. So anytime either C or D is true, the whole disjunction is going to be true. So we only need one true. And remember, we're looking at these 2 rows because these are disjuncts, C and D. So if we find at least one true in either of these rows, the disjunction's true. In the first row, both C and D are true, so that's obviously true. In the second row, D is true, so at least one of them is true, so the disjunction's still true. Same thing goes for the third row. C is true, and so the disjunction's still true. Last but not least, we have two falses. There's no true, and so the disjunction is false. So the last row is the only place where the disjunction is false. Very good. And last but not least, our final row, C, has exactly the same values as the first row. We're just copying them over because this is our conclusion. And so we just put our conclusion over here for sake of order. But it's technically the exact same column that it was in the very first column over here. They're identical columns. There's really no difference. So now, last but not least, the goal of making a truth table is to ask, is this argument valid? And so the way we determine validity on the basis of a truth table is we look at our two premises and we ask, everywhere that the two premises are true, is the conclusion also true? So in other words, does the conclusion have to be true when both premises are true? So we don't care about any row except for the ones in which both premises are true. Unless both premises are true, we don't care about it. So the only row in which both premises are true is row 3. In row 3, not D is true, and in row 3, C or D is true. So the only row we care about here is this one. Right? It's the only row we care about. And in that row where both premises are true, the conclusion is also true. Hence, we can say, yes, this argument is valid.